Welcome to Invercargill in New Zealand's deep south, home to cycling Southland and a region rich in scenery and character. This is the SBS Bank Tour of Southland, one of the country's longest running sporting events and the most prestigious title in New Zealand cycling. 18 teams will challenge themselves and each other over 7 stages and 850 kilometres across the roads of Southland, facing everything the terrain and weather can throw at them. At the end of the week, the best rider will add his name to the list of past greats. This is the 2018 SBS Bank Tour of Southland. After a weather-free start to this year's tour, the cycling gods served up wind, rain and a little hail to test the riders on Tuesday's second stage from Riverton to Te Anau. And the action started as soon as the flag dropped. A large group of 37 riders got away after 30 kilometres, but the big move came midway through the stage as a group of 3 and eventually a 4th rider got clear off the front. Placemakers Tom Hubbard had crested the famed Blackmount hill climb alone, but as the leaders drove the pace trying to stay away to the finish, Auckland's Morgan Smith, riding in the distinctive Aardvark Excavators kit, was forced to go it alone, holding the fast finishing peloton at bay to claim a hugely impressive stage victory by just 2 seconds. Smith earned the most combative rider's jersey for his efforts, while the Tour leader's yellow jersey stays on the back of Southland's Matt Zenovich, the Placemakers rider taking a 9-second advantage into the Tour's Queen stage on Wednesday from Mossburn to the top of Coronet Peak.
It took long enough, mate, but I was pretty wrapped with yesterday. It's one I've been wanting to tick off, that's for sure. You know, if you're a bit down in the dumps, it'll tell in your riding, so I just try to take it as it came and try to be positive and manage to pull it off, mate.
It's good to be racing with those real experienced characters like Morgan and those sort of guys and all the big GC boys, and it's great to take lots of experience from a good day on the break like yesterday.
For sure, the plan for me mostly is the mountains. That's where we'll make most of our time. Of course, we always look for opportunities on the flat stages, and we're here to race our bikes at the end of the day. So, but for sure, I think climbing is one of my specialties. So today will really suit me. We know what the climb is like, and we certainly have the team to support a bid for the win. So we're looking forward to it.
You got to reward your teammates, and just like they did yesterday. I'll just support them and drop them off in as good of a position as possible and let them do their thing, and I'll just get up there and try to be the 3rd rider and hopefully get up to see them win.
So 138 kilometres for these riders today, Doug, and of course the big climb at the end of the day, up to some 40 odd minutes for some of those riders to get to the top as they make their way into the 3rd big day of this tour.
This is the day we've been waiting on as Southlanders to see how Matt Zenovich is going to cope with the responsibility of that yellow jersey. The Placemakers team will be really rallying around him, but once again, the attacks always start early on in these stages. This is just full on right from the gun.
Yes, just some 98 of the original 108 starters here today after the cool conditions yesterday. Got under the skin of a few and a few crashes as well as we see the early sprints on the road. And of course the Harcourt Sprint Ace up for grabs, and these 2 men in particular that are trying to secure the points for that. And that would be these 2 here that are having a bit of a go. And that would be Jones, number 43 there, the man from the PowerNet team, and the man in the green jersey at the moment, of course, is Zenovich.
Yeah, well, Matt Zenovich is going to have a very, very interesting day. What his motivation is and how he feels about how he's going to get up Coronet Peak is going to be a major factor of this. I'm really hoping that he can keep things together. He's expended a lot of energy over the first couple of days. He's going to need his team to rally around him here today to try and hold things together.
Now, tradition would suggest that a group would get themselves away early on in this particular stage and open up a decent gap. Up to 7 minutes we've seen in the past, and then the big hitters slowly but surely bring them back at the base of the hill. So a lot of the riders will be aware of that. Some of the opportunists will be trying to get themselves off that front, pick up a few dollars as we see the Jollies hill climb here. It looks like one of the Total POS Solutions riders there trying to secure him a few points for himself here as well.
Yeah, that's right, Julian. The opportunist, as you say, trying to get away up this hill on the way through to Athol and away. This is often the springboard for a lot of these groups. Test the legs, breaks the group up a wee bit. Bit of a look over the shoulder there. That's the boy Bat in the King of the Mountains jersey. He's really, really securing those points as well. So it'll be a very, very long day for some of these riders, but strategically it's going to be an interesting day to see what some of the big teams do.
Meanwhile, we see the defending champion, Piccoli, as we saw him yesterday, very relaxed back in the main peloton. As we scan our eyes up the front of the race here, we can see a group is starting to establish itself a little bit off the front, trying to get that gap on the field and hoping that the main contenders will allow them to go and see if they could have a bit of a bid to glory.
Yeah, stretching their legs out. The Aardvark Excavators team have really, really been aggressive. They've been on the front every day so far in this year's SBS Tour. They really have come here with the intention to race, and they love splitting things up. There's some wheels getting dropped there further back, but there's probably too good of conditions early on here. Not enough wind perhaps to split things up, and it'll be interesting to see whether these guys can get away.
So Jensen Plowright, one of the first men to try and move this group off the front. Josh Page was getting across to him from the Business South team here. So it looks like a group of 7 riders very quickly in these windy conditions. A bit of a tailwind for these guys here, opening up a gap as they make their way towards Athol here. So 7 riders and instantly opening it to at least 30 odd seconds on the field.
Yeah, they'll be happy looking over their shoulders to see that they've finally established a break. Sometimes this is how it works. You can see quite a lot of these teams. That's one of the Total Post Solutions riders that was going over the Jollies Hill. There's one of the other riders there, number 171, and he is the Business South rider, Josh Page. He's one of the stronger riders in that Business South squad. So these guys will really, really want to push hard, get a good gap. Often the bunch behind will stop for a natural break, and that often adds to a bit of a gap, but these guys here are all working and all rolling through quite nicely at this stage.
Interesting to note too, the young man 116, Alex Fogel from Switzerland there. He's 19 years of age, riding for the Vet4 Farm team. There he is in those colours, a new team on board this year. As we can see, a good 30-second gap here, so they'll be wanting to continue to stretch that out. No heads are turning to look to see what's going on. They've just put the heads down onto the bars, and we're going to grind this one out and see if we can open a gap on the field.
Yeah, it's a lonely old day out when you're in a breakaway like this too, because you know there's a big peloton looming behind, and you know that there's a lot of chasing and a lot of ground left to go. So you've just got to get into a rhythm, make sure you're rolling through at a good tempo, no one's increasing it too much, trying to split things up, and keep your hydration, keep your fluid going. Gast and School are out again. They're always great supporters of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland Junior. It's great to see these schools, isn't it?
It's a great opportunity for the kids on the side of the road to see the big field coming through as they head up towards the Wakatipu region.
Back on the road now, we're heading out towards the Devil's Staircase, and these are the leaders on the road still with a good buffer, still working through quite nicely, and all rolling through, taking their turns, sharing the load. So the race at this stage has still got a long way to go, Gillian, but these guys are looking quite sharp.
Yes, as we look back here to the main peloton, it's always interesting to see who's going to be doing the work, and it's no surprise that we see the Kia Motors Ascot Park team. Of course, they've got some very good climbers in the likes of Piccoli and Bond, of course, as well as the Placemakers team. Of course, they've got Zenovic, the man in the yellow jersey. You can see him there, about 10 back. They've got young Hamish Keese of Invercargill and Joshua Haggerty, also of Southland, on the front doing the work for their team leader.
They're starting to slow down a bit. It gets quite lumpy around the Devil's Staircase. There's a couple of attacks going in this front group. This will split things up a wee bit. There are some preems along the road here. Of course, this is the climb coming over the Devil's Staircase, Halfway Bay. So things might just be splitting up a bit in this front group. That's not a good sign at this stage.
Brett Grieve, one of the riders in the 35-year plus age category in this year's tour, has got himself away in this break. He's riding for the Talbot Forest Cheese Ultimo team. They've been involved in this tour for a few years now, and here's a man in his first ever multi-stage Southland tour, of course, Sam Gaze, New Zealand Criterium champion. He's also, of course, the Commonwealth mountain bike champion. He's a man that is well marked in the books by many a rider.
Yeah, it's interesting. The PowerNet team will be trying to keep things together for him, hoping to get him delivered to the bottom of the Coronet Peak in good shape. The Placemakers team with Matt Zinovich, of course, they've got the yellow jersey. The Kia Motors Ascot Park team, they're prominent at the front. All of these big squads are all hoping to get their climbers to the base of the Coronet Peak in as good a position as they can so they can launch on and start doing the business up the climb.
As we make our way towards the Frankton area now, they've got off that Devil Staircase here. They managed to catch their breath a little bit. There's a bit of a descent down in towards Frankton here and pick up a few more sprints. The gap still there, a decent sort of a distance for these guys. They're starting to think about maybe, just maybe, we may be able to hold them out and get on to the big climb at the end of the day.
Yeah, this is it, and of course the motivation from the front riders now starts thinking about, because you can see the Coronet Peak climb in the distance, so out of sight is not out of mind. It's very, very much in the front of things. There are quite a few lumps and bumps, so before you even get to the base of the Coronet Peak, we come up here to the Frankton roundabout, start turning right and start heading into that lumpy country. So this lead group have still got a lot of work ahead of them.
And the Swiss rider again picking him up a few more points and a few more dollars here in the sprint, along with Thomas there for the Total Post Solutions team. As they pick up those points there, they'll now just catch their breath as they swing around the corner into the very busy area here of the Queenstown region and head across into the last 30-odd kilometres. So still a lot of time available for that chasing peloton, Doug.
Yeah, we've got a lone rider away here just coming up over the Shotover Bridge, and that is one of the Aardvark Excavators team members there, number 34. That's Jensen Plowright. He is really, really putting his head down and making a bid for things. He's not waiting around for the rest of these guys. He's committed here.
Here's Jensen, one of the youngest riders in this year's tour, at only 18 years of age. As you can see now, the peloton just cruising. That Plowright's not going to wait for them though. He is fair going for it. A man that comes off a lot of track experience, based out of Melbourne in his first ever tour here. He will be the man that's going to be able to secure the place as being the number one guy to hit the base of the hill. Will he be there at the end? We're about to find out here over the next few K.
Man, he has really hit the bottom of this Coronet Peak climb, going flat sticky, coming hot there, Julian, and it's going to be interesting to see whether the track-based rider, he's quite a bulky sort of chap. He's obviously got some gas, but can he climb, Julian, is going to be the big factor. And can the bunch reach the bottom of this Coronet Peak with enough of a buffer for him to stay away? He's got a lot of work. This is a tough start to this climb. It's very, very steep, and he will be really, really struggling after being away for so long.
Inspired, of course, by the win yesterday by the team with Morgan Smith into Tiana. These Aardvark Excavators, they're tigers for punishment when it comes to this race. They're going out there every day and trying to stir things up and give it a decent sort of a crack. Can they take two stages in a row as we hit hard into the base of the hill with the chasing peloton? Oh, and one of the Kia Motors team riders, it looks like that's potentially the defending champion. Piccoli has fallen, coming too hard into the corner, and he's going to have a bit of trouble there getting the mechanics into place to assist him here, because he still has not mounted the bike, Doug. This could be serious trouble here for the Kia Motors Ascot Park Hotel team.
That is a real disaster for last year's winner, James Piccoli. That is the last thing the Kia Motors squad member would have been thinking or wanting. He come in a wee bit quick there, and these guys are certainly not sitting around waiting for him. You can see the yellow jersey there of Matt Zinovich. He's poised and is in good position, but it is a very, very tough climb, this, Julian, and it is going to really, really open things up.
So these riders have got some 8 kilometres to go with plenty of switchbacks, but Plowright, the leader, he's seen the writing on the wall and is going to just cruise into the finish. So Michael Vink is the man here, just starting to stretch things out a little bit. We can see further back is Bond, and it looks like Corbin Strong from Invercargill as well. They're the guys starting to establish themselves off the front here as they'll make their way up towards the leader on the road, and it looks like as he moves across, he's about to make the capture.
Yeah, Michael Vink riding this year for the new squad, WPC South Joyride Apparel. He has been here and done this. He is a tour veteran. He started his career in this race in 2009. He's been on the podium a number of times, second and third. He knows what it's like to ride up here. He knows what it's like to be in contention for this yellow jersey, and he'll have analysed this ride out. You can see here the Aardvark rider, Jensen Plowright. His wheel walking days today have just finished, and that was was a sterling effort from him to stay away all that way and to be caught. But the ride for me here is going to be Michael Vink's ride. Hamish Bond, of course, is riding behind him, and Corbin Strong, the boy from Southland. You cannot help but feel very proud for this kid. He is a real talent and is something to watch in future years, this boy.
Just three completely different techniques as you look to the faces of the three. It looks like Vink just cruising along. He's looking over his shoulder, waiting for some sort of an assistance here, but Bond and them are in the hurt box here. They are digging deep, but the difference we know, of course, with the likes of the caliber of Bond, he knows how to hurt the body and turn himself inside out. Corbin Strong just drifting off the wheel a little bit there as Vink once again gives it a wee bit of a nudge here as they start to straighten up a little bit, and that cracks Corbin Strong. Vink, he is on form here today, Doug.
Yeah, there's some damage going on here behind. You can see the young Corbin Strong. It was the surge that was just too hard for him. And there's number 45, Connor Brown, the under-23 leader on the road. And in front of him, Sam Gaze, the mountain bike champion. We were wondering whether he was going to show his hand, and I think today's the day for him. Hamish Bond is just tenacious, though. This guy really knows how to hurt himself. Michael Vink is riding a brilliant ride up here at Coronet. He's calculating himself, he's metering his energy out, he has a wee look under his shoulder, but I've got to hand it to Hamish Bond. Man, that guy's got some heart.
Well, of course, as you've said, Doug, these two men have both been on the podium when it's come to this particular stage. They know exactly what it's like, but you can have all the experience you like in the world of climbing something such as this. You've still got to be able to have the legs. And it's Vink who now finds himself yet another gear and lifts it that bit more, and he's starting to crack Bond as he slips himself away by another half dozen metres. This guy is just tempoing so smoothly up here, not peddling squares unlike a few others further down the road.
He is a time trial champion on a number of occasions at elite level, Julian, as well. He really does know how to pace himself. He's got a beautiful style on his bike. Hamish Bond is just hurting himself to stay there, and you've got to hand it to Hamish Bond. What a gritty guy. But Michael Vink up the front is just giving everybody a masterclass on how to pace yourself, how to ride at a threshold, and how to really exert some damage behind you.
There was a good shot there of the back wheels, and you can see many of these riders had a good check before the start of the stage today. A lot of them riding around the 30 sprocket, a bit like they will be tomorrow as they head into a totally different climb with Bluff Hill. And it's Sam Gaze who's getting himself back onto the wheel here of Bond. This is going to be a great battle between these two, but of course the stage is up for victory. We may only have about 3 to 4 kilometres left remaining, but she's a very hard 3 to 4 kilometres to go to the top of Coronet Peak.
Yeah, the style of Sam Gaze is very controlled as well. He's a mountain bike champion. He's won elite UCI World Cup mountain bike races. This guy knows how to climb a mountain, but the style of these guys really dictates and shows you just what kind of pain they're in. Hamish Bond is really putting in a huge effort. Sam Gaze is having a look over his shoulder to see what's happening behind. They realise this ride is going to propel themselves up the GC order as well, and this particular part of the climb gets a wee bit steeper as well, and Hamish Bond is just having a real tough day out there. Sam Gaze has gapped him and is making a big chase to get to the front with Michael Vink.
And we do see Vink now on one of the very many switchbacks that they have here towards the top of this particular climb. Of course, New Zealand's first ever ski field here, and that's privately operated as they make their way on up here. He is powering into it, and look at the gap. There's no sign of any of the riders. This guy is on a mission. He is out to secure as much time as he possibly can on his rivals, and at this point in time, Doug, we're going to see a huge shake-up of the GC. It's exactly what we expected. It's been talked up for a couple of days, and these guys are proving us right.
Yes, Michael Vink is definitely putting himself in position for the yellow jersey of this year's tour, and you can see further back, this is Sam Gaze again. He is really hurting as well, but riding a nice controlled race, having a look over to see where Hamish Bond is. Michael Vink at the front, though, has really shown his hand today and shown that he is, if not the strongest rider in the field. The Coronet Peak is a pivotal part of the tour. It's not the end of the tour, but it's certainly the beginning of the end.
And let's not forget, of course, Vink is well aware he has been here in this position before, and he is trying to get as much time as possible because he knows what's still to come. He would be the first to admit that Bluff Hill tomorrow he would consider to be one of the Queen stages, if not the Queen stage. But today, victory goes on to the shoulders of Michael Vink, the Cantabrian, once again proving to be one of the best cyclists all round from New Zealand, takes out the fantastic stage into Coronet Peak here on day 3 of this SBS Bank Tour of Southland. The smiles are plenty, and I guarantee you can see a few other riders shortly will not necessarily have those same smiles, as they will just be pleased to get over this agonising climb. As the battle dark continues with these two, they're back together once again.
Hamish Bond has made all that distance back up to Sam Gaze. These guys are having a real go for second place. They realise the implications of the time on the road between them and their other competitors. Sam Gaze is looking at trying to come over Hamish Bond. You've got to hand it to these two guys, both non-road cyclists, both competing at elite level here in New Zealand, and both showing a lot of these bike riders how to do it. Sam Gaze looks like he's going to put some time into Hamish Bond. I've got to say, I'm so impressed with the grit from Hamish Bond. What a guy.
And in the distance we can make out the pink colours as well. Connor Brown, the young man from Auckland who's leading the Henderson Construction under 23. So one of the young guns also putting himself into a top position, but it's going to be Gaze who will secure second today on the stage. Bond only a few moments behind them, but look at the faces. These guys have left it all out on the road here. Connor Brown, the man in the pink colours, comes across in the top half dozen here to continue to hold on to that under 23 jersey, but man, has that hurt. And talking of hurt, Piccoli, what has this done to his chances to try and get a back-to-back win here in the Tour of Southland? The defending champion hurting all over the body after a crash at the base of the hill.
Yeah, a very, very tough day for James Piccoli, and he'll be licking his wounds and thinking about tomorrow, that's for sure.
Michael Vink secures the yellow jersey as well as the stage today to extend a lead of 1:20 over Oliver Martin of his own team, while Sam Gaze moves into third spot at 1:21. While Matt Zenovich ties on points for the Harcourt sprint ace with Ollie Jones, by virtue of the GC standings, secures the green jersey. While Ethan Batt continued to extend his lead in the Jeskai Hydraulics King of the Mountains, 30 versus 17 and 13 over Zenovich and Hubbard. Connor Brown, after an outstanding ride up the climb today, extends his leads to now have 22 seconds over another outstanding ride by Corbin Strong. Glenn Hayden is now the new leader of the Stonewood Home silver jersey by 1:04 over Paul Odland and Steve Nichols. While Josh Page, after some early moves in the stage and getting away in the group of 7, is awarded the most combative for the day. WPC South Joyride Apparel, with Vink as their leader, continue to lead in the Wednesday Cycles team classification, with Kia Motors and PowerNet moving into second and third.
Goes on through.
Oh, man, that was incredibly hard, eh? I was nowhere near expecting to go that well. I think I was on another level, so I was never going to be able to ride with him, but the next few days suit me even more compared to this, so hopefully, yeah, we can get the third time that PowerNet wins the tour. That's the goal.
Yeah, it was actually felt pretty good coming into it. It's probably the freshest I've been on this stage. I knew once I got the gap it'd be really hard for anyone to close it, so I got the gap pretty early on and yeah, just held it. You can't bluff your way out that climb, so yeah, really good, and you certainly don't lose your legs overnight, so hard couple of stages to come, but we're ready for it.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at www.tourofsouthland.com.